All right. Welcome in, guys.
Welcome.
Episode 22.
Okay.
Let's go.
First time in 4 years that I haven't gone to Collecticon.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I went ever since the shop opened. This is the first year I didn't go.
You know, I've only ever been to Collecticon was the one time when we went and had a booth and worked it. That was the only time I've ever been.
That was my first time I got to hang out with you.
Was it?
Yeah. I'd seen you in the store, but we had never really had a conversation. You were kind to me when I would come in, but you worked the store, and there was another person, which we won't name names, who was also working in the store at the time that decided to go buy some stuff. And you looked at me and you're like, this dude, man, what is he doing? and I was there just, I had told Trav, hey, do you need help or can I come? And so I was there to help Trav. I wasn't even a part of the store yet.
Yeah. Because you were holding it down when Trav went and got Taco Bell for everybody.
Yeah. And we were just hanging out and
yeah.
selling mystery boxes and sleeve packs and stuff like that. That was one of the first times
I do remember that.
we hung out, which was pretty cool.
Well, we're going to talk about Collecticon. We're going to recap Collecticon last week. We're also going to talk about a few other things. I had an agenda I sent to you guys, but we're switching it up a little bit based on some conversations we had over the last day or so.
Okay.
So we're going to talk a little bit about the Pokemon Center drop for Pitch Black and how that may be impacting a spike in prices with Pitch Black.
Yeah.
And what we're speculating there. I also want to talk about Series 2 Illustrator packs dropping this week. We'll kind of talk about those coming in on Friday, which would be today when you guys watch this.
Yep.
Might touch on NAIC a little bit. And then, of course, like I stated before, I want to talk about Collecticon, kind of recap there and how that went. We'll wrap it up with Tinker Time. Sound good?
Yeah, great.
Sounds good. Lead the way.
All right, let's get into it. So, Pitch Black dropped. Was that last week? Feels like forever ago already, but I think it was just last week. And
It was like last Thursday or Friday.
yeah, when? I don't know. I'll have to go back and look.
Sure.
But yeah, it was.
The Pokemon Center release is what you're talking about.
Yes.
Did I miss a release?
No, I'm sorry. The Pitch Black pre-orders dropped last week. Let me clarify, and it was a nightmare for a lot of people. The site crashed. People got locked out. People couldn't even get in the site initially. People got
over
through.
the last
and then,
18 months, when have you ever heard the Pokemon Center release has been just awesome?
Well, it wasn't bad for Chaos Rising in Perfect Order.
Correct.
I felt like.
Yeah.
But we didn't. So that's the other thing we're going to get to here is, once that happened and nobody was able to get any product, it seemed like everybody rushed to get their pre-orders in, and prices just
So
went.
let's level set. Let's give some additional context here. So when most people hear Pokemon Center drops, they think through like Pokemon Center exclusive items like the ETB. And that's a fact. Most Pokemon Center, or all Pokemon Center ETBs on release are coming from Pokemon Center. But when people get in the queue on Pokemon Center to be able to buy products, they're not only buying ETBs. You can buy a booster box at $164.74, right? Which is whatever, $474 times 36, the MSRP. And you can also buy booster bundles. And sometimes they'll have other products up there depending on the set. But generally speaking, Pokemon Center is the way for probably, I'm going to guess, Jack, Travis, you guys can tell me how wrong I am, somewhere between 10 to 20,000 people to be able to get product.
Yeah.
And it may be more, it may be less. Some people are only getting booster boxes. Some people are only getting Pokemon Center ETBs. Some people are late enough in the line that they're only getting booster bundles. But that's my guess. Somewhere between 10 to 20,000 people are sourcing product at MSRP. So whatever that is, $26.49 for a booster bundle, $164 for a booster box, and $59.99 for the ETB. And so this release for Pitch Black was they've been beefing up the security to keep bots from being able to do stuff and wipe out the whole inventory. And so as they've made incremental changes, as Jack said, Perfect Order wasn't difficult. and Chaos Rising. And when I say it wasn't difficult, when the queue went up, you logged into the queue, you did one CAPTCHA, right? And then you had your timer. And then when the timer got close, you logged on, you bought your product, and you logged off. It was no big deal. This time, it kept kicking people off, or the timer would get down to sub an hour, sub 50 minutes, and then it would reset and put people 7 hours in line.
Yeah.
It would take people from 50 minutes to seven hours in line. And so that didn't go over well. A lot of people were frustrated online via social media. One of the things, as we've looked back on what Pitch Black products have done since then, that day, TCG player sales for booster boxes and for ETBs and booster bundles picked up significantly. If you look at a similar time frame for Perfect Order and Chaos Rising, the volume stayed consistently steady and the price kept dropping for ETBs until release week, whereas the price has basically stabilized for booster boxes and for ETBs and maybe ticked up just a little bit because people didn't get their product from Pokemon Center and went to TCG Player to go get it. That's my reasoning. I don't have another one, but it feels like it makes sense.
I agree. I don't see another reason. I mean, because it's not like there's a Mega Charizard in this set. There's nothing in this set that's like gotta have generational card or anything like that. You know, it's a smaller set. You got Mega Darkrai, and that's kind of it. I mean, there's still good artworks and cool stuff for the average collector, but there's nothing that like would drive this kind of hype to where booster boxes are currently sitting at $278 a box. I think Chaos Rising was at like $230 on release.
Yeah.
Perfect Order was like
under
$220.
Under 200.
Was it under?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, I don't know, guys. The only thing I can attribute it to is just people trying to lock in pre-orders when they miss the Pokemon Center drop, and they just rush to TCG players, snipe all the lowest listed, and all you have left over is the stuff that's listed higher.
Yeah, the guarantee of product is worth the additional money.
Yeah.
Right, to make sure that you have it. I'm trying to look at the list of
People want to be able to open a box though when it's relevant.
Yeah.
You know, it's like if you pulled the best hit from Paldea Evolved right now, the Magikarp, for example, and you posted it on social media as if, hey, I'm super excited, I spent all this money, you're not going to get the reaction as if you pulled that Darkrai from the very first set.
Sure.
So the paying additional money and why you do it and not wait is just because the recency, the relevancy of it.
You think?
I think that's a big portion of it. Because we had this conversation on the last segment about putting your money on other, like if your fun money, if you're gonna spend $300, why are you chasing after,
Yeah, why are you chasing after
any of the recent sets that you know that the singles are gonna go down? Go put your money into the sets like Paradox Rising Temp. So, I mean, why do you do it? Well, you feel led to put it into the newest set, even when you may not, as a collector, have invested very heavily on previous sets. So if I said, hey, Josh, how long have you been a collector? Oh, I don't know, 10 years.
Yeah.
Okay. How much money have you spent on every single set? And you would say, man, maybe Prismatic and Destin Rivals are the only two that I really went hard on.
Yeah.
You're going to buy the new set? Yeah, I'm going to buy the new set. Why? Why the new set?
Yeah.
Versus 3 sets ago.
Yeah.
4 sets ago, 5 sets ago, 10 sets ago. Why not buy Chilling Reign at $11 a pack right now? Why pay $10 a pack for Mega Evolutions or Chaos Rising when you can buy Chilling Reign for $12 a pack?
Yeah.
It's a 5-year-old set. So, I mean, we had that whole segment.
Yep.
So there has to be a recency. Like, it's the new thing, and that's why people do it. Or we're just all a bunch of sheep doing whatever herd mentality tells us to do because we don't have critical thought to think for ourselves to go and actually put money on the opportunity buys.
Yeah, and I think the second is a lot. I think there's a lot there in doing what everybody else is doing. I'm not a 10-year collector. I'm like maybe 3-ish years collecting stuff. And for me, I have a certain amount of money that I want to spend per set outside of the specialty sets. The specialty sets, because of what Prismatic did, I don't mess with. I totally messed with 151 and Shrouded Fable, and Paldean Fates, but I didn't mess with Prismatic. And so, yeah, it's a couple $100 I spend on every set release to open the stuff, to get the bulk, because we play in our house, everybody plays, and so having some of the bulk of the playable cards or whatever, so I don't ever have to go look for a $1 Team Rockets Kangaskhan that's not in, that when you pull it, you get rid of it, and then all of a sudden you need it like 6 months later. I try to not be in that position. But yeah, that's the reason that I open stuff. And so if all of a sudden supply was diminished for that, yeah, I'm going to go to TCG Player because I know I can buy it. It's just like when you miss a drop side note, I have a Legend of Zelda Switch that one of the controllers, the rubber on the little controller went out. And so I've got to get one. Well, I'm not going to just go buy a regular set of controllers for that special edition Zelda Wii, right? Or Switch, sorry. Where do I go? Oh, 100%. I go to eBay, right? Because I know they'll have it, and I know I'm going to pay for it, but that's where I'm going to go. And so in this case, when you can't get what you want, whether it's at Target or Best Buy or Walmart or Pokemon Center, you go to where you know it's going to be, which is going to be TCG Player.
I need my screen share thing. Hook me up, Jack. All right. While we're hooking this up, let me preface this. The 5 sets that we're going to talk about are Mega Evolution until Pitch Black. So they're all sets that have been post-Pokemon exploding. Pokemon exploded again at Surging Sparks. It really popped off with Prismatic and Destined Rivals. Kind of no slowing down. Mega Evolutions came out. Mega Evolutions was kind of the first time where you thought maybe it's cooling.
Yeah.
But it still was like, relative to anything else, it was still way up there.
Yeah.
So just know, these last 5 sets take us over the last 15 months. When did Mega Evolutions come out? September 26th of 25.
Yeah, September.
Holy cow. It hasn't even been a year. And we've got Mega, Phantasmal, Ascended, Perfect, Chaos, Pitch Black. That's 6 sets released in less than a year.
Pitch Black comes out in July.
Yeah, less than a year.
End of July. Yeah, so 6 sets in a year.
6 sets in less than 1 calendar year.
And Ascended.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Mega, Phantasmal, Ascended, Perfect, Chaos, Pitch Black, and you still have 2 months between July 17th and September 26th. When does the 30th anniversary set come
Right
out?
there in September.
So in 1 calendar year, book to book, bookend to bookend, we're actually at a 7-set cadence?
Yeah.
That's more than it's ever been.
Yeah.
That's a segment in and of itself, which actually might explain...
Wednesday, September 16th, 2026.
7 sets in 1 cycle, 1 calendar year.
Yeah.
That actually explains potentially so many directions we can go with this segment. I'm going to try to rein us in. I'm going to usurp Jack's thing for a minute. There's a conversation about print capacity. How much can Pokemon print in a 12-month window of time? And if your printing is finite and you decide to print 7 different sets in a 12-month period versus 4 sets, that means that if printing is finite, the amount that you print per set has to be less relative to anything else. And so you're printing more product holistically across different sets, but less of each product. That makes the scarcity of every individual product harder to find because you just cut, total supply by 20, 30% because you waited it out.
Pause. Of the mega sets, only Mega Evolution base set is a double set.
Yes.
The rest are all singles.
Yes.
The rest are all 1-to-1 with Japanese sets. So what did they do, Trav? They have one. Ascended's a big set. Don't get me wrong. It's a couple hundred cards.
Yeah.
But all the rest of the sets are all
1-to-1s.
Yeah, 1-to-1. So you're talking like
talked about
130
this.
cards.
We talked about this maybe 10 episodes ago when we were trying to figure out the mapping of the Japanese sets and how they were going to do it. And this is what I'm seeing here is that they're increasing the cadence of releases. You have a release every 2 months versus every 3 months.
Yeah.
Okay, so interesting. So, but all of that to say, take us up to current day. Mega Evolutions came out. Pokemon market was still hot. So what I want to do, I want to answer this Pitch Black question. I'm going around the mountain to give you a little bit of a picture here.
I'll allow it.
Okay, thank you. All right, so here's Pitch Black. So we had a conversation with the shop guys here. Kind of seems like that TCG Player puts up pre-orders about a month before release, 6 weeks before release.
Yeah.
I don't.
You even get allocations.
Yeah, right. So like people are selling. This is Pitch Black, just so you guys see the screen. Release date of Pitch Black is July 17th. You can start buying product on May 3rd. Okay, so you're 2 months.
Yeah.
2.5 months early on that. Well, what I want to pay attention to is the price band. Look at the chart on how the pricing. It starts high, dips, goes up. This is the general theme that you're going to see with all the sets. And so there's 2 things that I want to pay attention to. The timing of when you buy a box. When's the most optimal time for a consumer to buy a box? And what the price of the box eventually turns into, that market price is market price. So why are people paying huge pricing. And so let's look at those 2 points. So this is pitch black. Was at a low of 252, already up to 276, and that's happened over a 3.5 week period. So you've got a, 10% increase. So not huge, 10% over the total cost, but still a spike. Chaos Rising, release date for Chaos Rising was May 22nd, about 3 weeks before release. We'll have to find out the time when Pokemon Center dropped. Okay, 3 weeks before release, and then it's down, and then it spikes again. Huge spike right away. It starts to go back down. About May 12th to May 14th is when it just kind of exploded in price. And here's the other thing. Notice the sales velocity band. The bar chart is sales velocity. So on release day, that's when the volume of how many people are purchasing stuff spikes. So a lot of consumers wait until release weekend to buy. You're going to see, you don't see that yet on pitch black, but with that spike that you do see, that's Pokemon Center, to Jack's point. Pokemon Center came out with the drop. You had a lot of people buying in post Pokemon Center, and supply got bought out. Chaos Rising, release day happened, huge supply came. What's interesting about Chaos Rising is we haven't seen the pump yet. So we are pre-pump on Chaos Rising. Notate this moment right now. So we're how many days after release? We are May 22nd. We're about a month after release. A month after release, and the pump has not happened for Chaos Rising. This will be the one outlier that you guys see. Go back to Perfect Order, March 27th, right? Exact same trend. Sales velocity spikes on release day. You had a high, it dropped. Pre-release, it's spiking, most likely Pokemon Center. You see this other volume spike, prices spike, just like Pitch Black. High, drops, goes back up with the thing. Prices are starting to stabilize. Chaos Rising, this is not happening in Chaos Rising. We're right here. In Chaos Rising window, we're right here. Perfect Order starting to trend back up, okay? Sales are going down, but the amount of supply that's hitting the market is lower. Look at Phantasmal. This is when you start getting into the range of why you invest and why you hold, and why when you buy at $220 a box or $250 a box, this is why as an investor, I should buy as much Chaos Rising right now at $233. It's the low point of the market. It's going to turn into $350 before too long, because every other set will. And so you say, well, how do you know that? Well, look. So Phantasmal Flames, November 14th release. Okay, November 14th. Let's find it. Right here. You see the big velocity spike? Right there. It's the same window. It drops low, and then when supply dips down, you have this massive, just upward track of pricing. Well, you say, well, Phantasmal's got the Charizard. Let's not count that one. Well, it's the exact same. Just, okay, go back to Mega. Look at Mega. Mega release September 26th. Come back to Mega. September 26th here. It's the highest, same trend. You got two spikes. You got the Pokemon Center spike. This is I don't know the date. I want to check this, but this is the first I've correlated Pokemon Center release with sales spikes and release weekend spikes. So you've got a spike on velocity for demand on August 11th for Mega Evolution. That gave us a spike. You got release weekend. The hype is over, okay? Once the hype talks about this recency thread I just talked about, hype's over. So all the sets go backwards in price after release. They tank, and then all of a sudden supply is gone. Chaos Rising, we're at the dip. Supply's about to be gone, and then it's going to start rising back up. Perfect Order is starting to come out of that supply dip, starting to rise back up. Phantasmal, you're at $450, $409 a box. Mega Evolutions back up to $328 a box. And so the last year, you've got evidence of 6 cycles now. We didn't look at Ascended. You've got 2 drastic demand blips, Pokemon Center and release. So no more supplies hitting the market. Prices tank for a season, and then inevitably, this is where you put your investor hat on, it's only ever going to go up, 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 up. So that's why if you're buying at $220 a box for Pitch Black right now, $276, that's a huge spike. Well, we just got out of that first demand spike. There's going to be one more demand spike.
Take a look at the Chaos Rising. Go back to the Chaos Rising.
Yeah.
Look at the volume of items sold. So the first real spike on April 9th, you have 94 items sold. Do you see that?
Yep.
And then the next bar is 184, so doubled it. And then if you just go one right to April 12th through April 14th, It's 184 items. You see that? Mm-hmm. So that's the day, that day there in April 11th.
Is that Pokemon Center?
April 13th. April 13th is when Pokemon Center had their drop for Chaos Rising. Okay. And
so you guys said this one was a okay.
Yep.
This was a okay, so that jump's not as big.
So then go to where you have the high in price, which is May 12 through 14, which is 266. Mm-hmm. That's the week before release. That's when people have realized they've either gotten their hands on, this is my opinion, right? I can't validate this, but this is when people realize they either have pre-orders or not. And so then they go, and then you have more demand get put up on, you have more supply get put up on TCG Player, and then you can see it just slowly tanks, just like you were saying. So then the hype's over on release day. 700 items are sold on release day. Most that have been sold of the product ever on a daily basis, and then it just continues to drop. So you do have a little increase in volume on the Pokemon Center release day, and I think part of that is the awareness. Jack, you get an email every time from Pokemon Center when they release their ETBs, right? It's not enough time to do anything about the queue, but
thanks, Pokemon Center.
Yeah, but you get an email, and so if that reminds you that you need to buy the next set, then you're going to see volume increase, which is what we see specifically with Chaos Rising. And then if you didn't pick it up then, and you see the announcement that the next set is coming out, then you go to TCG Player and you go buy it, right? Because all the pre-orders are sold out. And just like you said, though, I think the facts are there based on the Mega Evolution block that prices start high and then they kind of stabilize a little bit when Pokemon Center releases their drop, and then they drop a little bit more. And then like 10 days before release, they go back up again, and then they come back down, and then they stay down for maybe 2 months, 3 months, and then they go back up.
Something else to remember with this too, with Chaos Rising and Pitch Black, Pokemon Center drops occurred 30 days prior to set release, whereas Mega Evolution, Phantasmal,
60.
Yeah, it was like a 2-month window.
At technically 57 days.
Yeah. So when we're looking at these charts and stuff, and you're looking at Pokemon Center spikes versus release day spikes, keep in mind that Pokemon Center drops didn't happen at the same time with each set.
But in that, I think you have enough quantitative data to be able to look at and recognize, hey, if I was trying to figure out where to spend money right now, because that's what we talk about really a lot on this podcast is where should we spend our money, or where's a good place to spend money. Based on this information, I think spending money on a couple boxes or a box or a sealed case of Chaos Rising right now, it's not a bad way to make $600 or $700 in the next, 4 months, 5 months, right, Trav? Isn't that what you're?
Yeah, I think like Chaos Rising right now, that's probably you're probably never gonna get a cheaper entry point for Chaos Rising than right now.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, well, you want to put your money on whatever, but Chaos Rising will never be cheaper.
Yeah.
And if you do nothing in 1 year on the Mega Evolution, you'll probably increase your investment by 50% a year from today. Based off of, nobody knows when the bubble's going to pop. Nobody's going to know if it's going to get even more crazy. Nobody knows if all of a sudden Pokemon spins up a new print center, instantly online capacity ramps 40%. This is a statement that's assuming if everything stays the same.
All things being held equal.
This will be the reality.
There's another piece here, as you said, hey, the bubble to pop. And maybe this is a good transition into Collecticon. Talking about the larger economy of Pokemon, and this has shades of Collecticon also in it. So 4 years I've been going to Collecticon in Kansas City, and each one has been a little bit of a different experience. But one of the things that let my brain engage yesterday and Sunday was, I think this phenomenon that we've had happen in the boom of most recent Pokemon has brought a lot of money and eyeballs into Pokemon. And when I look at someone and say, hey, I run a Pokemon shop, different people have different responses to that based on what their experiences are. One of the guys came in here yesterday. I played basketball with him on Fridays. He came in yesterday, had a little binder that had a bunch of Topps Pokemon cards in it. So when he thinks about Pokemon, that's what he thinks about. When you talk to some of our regulars, they think about playing the game. Some of them think about ripping new packs. Some of them think about graded cards. Some of them think about vintage cards, right? So there's all these different things. And someone said, hey, when do you think the bubble's going to pop? Or what do you think is going to happen? And I don't think that Pokemon as a hobby can sustain some big impact from happening, right? Some major choice by corporate or some world event. There are things that will cause Pokemon as a whole to fail. But generally, if it's left to itself, I think there's enough diversification inside of the hobby that certain things, certain aspects will fall apart. So here's my transition into Collecticon. 4 years ago, you could buy a pack of Obsidian Flames or Temporal Forces. I think my timing is right there. Maybe not, but whatever the set was, you could buy it from almost every vendor that was there. You could buy a pack. 3 years ago, couldn't really buy packs of the same sets. You could find like vintage packs, and you could find maybe some later Wizards of the Coast stuff, but you weren't finding any mid-era, any XY, none of that, openly, right? Last year, it was Gold Stars and Gold Stars only. Man, there were just Gold Stars everywhere. In fact, I took my daughter, and I had her hold a PSA 10 Gold Star Charizard because the guy was asking like 90 grand for it. And I just said, hey, this is probably the most expensive piece of cardboard you'll ever hold in your life, right? So here, take a look at it. This year, it was all slabs. And so when you think about the different things that have these sub-tranches in the hobby, you have sealed product. Not only do you have sealed product, but you have modern sealed product, you've got mid-era sealed product, you've got vintage sealed product. Okay, so you got sealed product. Then you've got singles. And in singles, you've got Gold Stars, you've got primes, you've got rainbow rares, you've got tag teams, you've got alt arts, you've got illustration rares, you've got special illustration rares. So you got promo cards, you got XY promo cards, right? So you got all these different little sub things. The point I'm trying to make is I think there is a lot of, you said earlier in this recording trap about like herd mentality. I think somebody points eyeballs somewhere. And there's a lot of focus there. And so that specific thing blows up. Gold Stars is a good example. Boom, they go nuts, right?
You and I had a text thread this last week. We had a PSA 10 Entei Gold Star come into the old shop probably 18 months ago. We took it in on trade. At the time, it was about $2,000. I think we probably paid like $1,700, $1,600 for it. I collect, and so like it's hard for me to not walk away with items that I know that I want, but it's just like I can't every week say, okay, I'm taking a $1,600 slab. Or it's just so it's like I let it pass. Even though I needed it, even though I knew I was never gonna see it again, I said, oh, we'll sell it. We sold it. I was checking pricing this past week. I text Josh. I said that Entei Gold Star is now over $10,000.
Yeah.
So they had a 5x lift in less than a year or less than 18 months. And he says, well, you can say that about anything. He said, you could say that about, Obsidian or whatever. Fair. Yes, you could. But I told him, I said, but it's a little different. Like back then, I said, I knew what a Gold Star was.
Yeah.
I knew a Gold Star was like the ultimate chase, that they were super hard to get. Like people still knew what those were. How has the market moved 5x on that? Like what's happened that a Gold Star Entei 18 months ago is $2,000 and now it's $10,000. That card's been out for 15 years. And so my brain was just absolutely like, what is happening? How,
it's
like,
crazy.
Yeah. And so my point there is at some point, the Entei is not going to drop back down to $2,000, right? It's always going to maintain its value, but the growth won't be there. And so when the growth's not there, somebody is going to, or multiple people will make a concerted effort to look at something else, right? They'll go somewhere else. Maybe it's shadowless base set, and not just Charizard, but maybe it's like a shadowless Blastoise or a shadowless
Prime
whatever,
cards.
right?
Yeah.
Or the primes,
Yeah.
or the Shining set from Sun and Moon, right? Somebody will find another subset and move towards it, which will then prop that up. And one of the things that I think about when people say, "Hey, when does it pop?" I feel right now. Right? We can mark the date. We can come back and make fun of me later when I'm wrong. But I feel right now that there's so many different lanes for you to put money into Pokemon that when one of them starts to crumble, you just transition to a different one. You go to a different lane. And so if for whatever reason the market starts weakening on Gold Stars, you just transition to tag teams. Or if the market starts weakening on sealed product, you transition to slabs.
So I have something that kind of coincides with that I want to talk to you guys about. I'm seeing a lot of stuff recently about. Well, let me reset. When I talked to Chewy and some of the other guys that went to Collectacon over the weekend with you, a lot of them said, "Hey, there was like zero modern. It was all vintage. Like modern was just gone. Like it all been bought up." And then I start seeing everything pop up on Twitter about all these gotcha guys that are just inventories just drained, and they're just having to replenish so fast that they can't keep up.
When you say gotcha guys, what are those?
Like the grab bags. Yeah.
Gotcha here's the definition, is a video game mechanic where players spend in-game currency or real money to acquire random virtual items, characters, or abilities. Think Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Right. So it's just a mystery box.
Yeah, so the reason I bring that up is because, like you were saying, there's always some new subset that everybody's moving on to next. Is this like going to become a major issue in the hobby when there's so many people flooding into these grab bags and they're just draining the inventory of Modern so fast that they have to pull from somewhere else, and then another subset gets drained, and then another one, and it's just like we can't keep up as. What are your thoughts on that?
So I got two stories, and then I want your thoughts. There was at Collecticon, there was like, they do like the islands, they do like a square of tables, and so one square are some people that have been some loyal customers of ours from back at the beginning of the store, 3 years ago. And one of the guys there is the guy that bought the slab displays, right? Scott. Shout out to Scott in Warrenton. And they've got their display up, and some other people are on the other side. And on Friday, if you buy the VIP access to Collecticon, you get to go in early as a consumer. And so somebody, nobody knows who he is, rolled in and bought everybody's PSA slabs and dropped $192,000 on slabs, and kept going around buying slabs. On day zero, wasn't there on Saturday, wasn't there on Sunday. So he went with a specific purpose to buy all these slabs to be able to support his inventory of, whichever gotcha game he's going with. But he bought all the slabs. So that's story number one. Story number two, as Ali and I were walking around together at Collecticon, one of the vendors we ran into, at a minimum, was paying 85% for any PSA slab regardless. It didn't matter. 85% cash or trade.
They're probably banking on that theory that you had last week, which was the $80 entry price is going to make all slabs go up.
I think that's a part of it. I think inventory is low, so you just buy whatever you can because you know that it's going to appreciate.
Well, and if you can buy it at 90, we had this conversation. If you can buy it at 90%, I mean, most people pay sales tax on eBay and TCG Player, you pay sales tax regardless. They don't sell slabs though. eBay, you can upload your reseller certificate where you don't pay sales tax. And so, but if you buy on eBay, you're buying market. If you buy at Collecticon, you're paying 90%.
Yeah. 95, maybe 92.
Yeah, but it's still better than what, and nobody's going to scam you, right? So if there's an operation that's going to have to replenish stock, that's why we went. You have to, Collecticon's one of the opportunities where you really can come up decent on inventory replenishment. So yeah, it's and if you're a vendor and if you have to sell that card, you're better selling it at Collecticon at 95% than eBay at 87%.
Yeah. As I sat with this guy that was paying 85% for anything under $249 and 90% for anything above $250, cash or trade for what he had. He didn't have a bunch of stuff. I mean, he had a bunch of heavy hitter stuff. Don't get me wrong. He had 4 Moonbryons PSA 10, right? He had plenty of base set stuff, first edition stuff, graded. He had multiple $1,000s tied up in cards, but he had 3 total displays. Like he had 3 little of those like briefcase things. He didn't have a full set of tables. He has a connection that will always pay him cash a certain percentage, 93%, he can get for any PSA slab. And so he knows at 90 that if he drops $300,000 at a Collecticon at 90%, that he's going to make 3% on that money just by going and visiting this guy. And gosh, that's a $9,000 net on a weekend. That's not bad. On top of whatever else you're selling. Mm-hmm. We were talking about money earlier, right? Making $80,000 a year is a pretty great job. $9,000 a weekend when you got 16 Collecticons or 10 Collecticons. Gosh, that's a pretty good, if you're in the lifestyle of being able to travel and go to different cities and do that life, that's not bad. That's fantastic.
There's also this thing though too about the investors, like that person who's spending $200,000 buying those slabs. If your mind shift is in this investment mentality where you whether invest in stocks or crypto or Pokemon, and Pokemon's your thing, and you look at what the slab market has done over the last 12 months, pull my screen up right now, just so I got this. This is another card that I own. I had actually bought this card probably in 2004, and so $850 was a PSA 10. Now a PSA 10 is $8,900. you got a 10x increase on this one particular card in less than 2 years. If that continues, and if you're seeing this huge spike, and if you are investing, slabs are the way to go to retain your value and to hold your value because of the super, super limited scarcity of slab. Whatever singles are out there, slabs are that next super scarce tier. And so if you're saying, hey, I'm going to put $200,000 in, how safe is it in today's Pokemon market to say 2 years from now, will I have at least $200,000 back, yes or no? Versus if I put $200,000 in, will this $200,000 be with $400,000? And you have to just, like, it's a risk, right? So with any investment, it's a risk. We say, hey, they're replenishing their inventory. Well, they could literally just be buying it to hold it, to do nothing with it, because if you look at the last 2 years, they would have made a killing. And if people start slowly recognizing this and people are entering the market simply because they're trying to ride this wave, it's just pumping. And it's the same thing that crypto did 2 years ago when you had the giant crypto pump. The hard thing, and I talked about this last time, the reason I think this bubble is going to be a little bit tougher to burst is because for it to pop, you have to have everybody selling at the exact same time. Yeah. Whereas crypto, you can, or stocks, the tolerance or the threshold to be able to sell is all you got to do is click a button. You sell stocks, you click a button. It's real easy. You can be very emotional on stocks in crypto when you sell. With Pokemon to sell, what do you got to do? Well, for me to sell this Shiny Moo at $10,000, I have to make a listing. I have to wait on eBay for 7 days. That's probably the fastest. Or I can go to a show 3 months from now that probably is going to have a buyer. So if there's like 2,000 of these in population report that's a 10, what's the likelihood that you're going to have 80 sellers of a 10 trying to sell at the exact same time to tank the market so that the person who put $200,000 in, you can say, well, you're going to get burnt 2 years from now because the market's going to tank. It's more defensive that the market's not going to tank here.
And we did this exercise like 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. Only 8 to 10% of all of the sales are actually going to get reported on an online, in an online platform. So back to your example of if there's 2,000 YouTubes out there, at what's the number? 8,900 a piece.
That's great.
And all of a sudden, we find out that there's lore to Mewtwo that he's a horrible person, horrible Pokemon, and everybody hates him and wants to. And his stocks go down. Let's say Mewtwo's stocks go down. You're not going to see that in the market.
There's one sale a day.
One sale a day on whatever the population is.
One sale a day right now.
So the only way to tank that is for someone to take 75% less. Like that'll impact things. If they took 75% less, you know, if they sold their thing for $2,000.
The only thing that I can think about that might be happening here, and I've saw some evidence of this, is manipulation to where somebody has a $2, $3, $4, $5, $10 million investment. Like that's a lot of money for us, but on the scale of the broader economy, don't discount the idea that there could be one person that's got $30 million of slabs and he's sitting on a gold mine.
Yeah.
And so he has a manipulation operation that they're making listings, they're selling the slabs, they're pumping the price. Because I'm looking at these listings, and a lot of these listings for this Shiny Mew, they look like they have the same picture. And so I'm just going back. So I'm checking. So this is Sir 8192. Oh, no, 9668. They're different. Never mind.
So,
debunked.
I thought maybe I was like detecting something like, because one sale a day just seems like nutso.
Yeah. Yeah. It's something to think about. We'll keep an eye on it and keep updating. But let's wrap it up here with a little tinker time. So, what time is it?
I'm looking at Jack. I'm like, we're drawing something. We're
not. We don't have time. We went on too many spiels. So today's easy. We're gonna play one word. One word is not even really a game. All it is I'm going to give you guys a topic. You're gonna give me one word for your thoughts on that topic, and then you can elaborate on it a little bit. So, first up, Chicago-style pizza, New York pizza. National poll says New York pizza's better. One word. What are your thoughts on New York pizza outranking Chicago? You agree? Disagree?
Inconclusive.
Inconclusive?
Never tried New York. Never been to New York.
Okay. Kraus, any thoughts?
Man. Agree.
Agreed. Okay.
I've had Chicago pizza. It's pretty good.
Why do you agree, Kraus?
I mean, the fat guy in me is saying, yo, Chicago pizza is fantastic. But that thin, crispy, the slice the size of your chest, $4 or whatever, $12 with a soda, right there, fresh made. Chicago style pizza, you can't really like grab and go. It's a sit down type event.
Okay.
I
That's fair.
get it. I get it.
Fair.
If I was thinking on a population scale, yeah, New York pizza is better.
All right.
You guys remember? So I watched this movie probably 200 times when I was a kid. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, the movie. They have an opening scene where the music's flashing, they're cutting into the city, and it's Sbarro's is the pizza place.
Yeah.
They're scooping in, they get the giant slice of New York City pie, and they fold it, and they're eating it folded.
Yeah.
That's what I think about. Like New York style, I think of the Turtles.
It
Just
does-
because.
It sounds
and-
more convenient for sure.
And I had this ritual. Me and my cousin, we used to always watch those movies, and we would put either a Jack Stack or a Tombstone pizza in, and we would cut it strictly in half, and we would just eat the pizza, a half of a pizza, just hold it up without even cutting it, and
how
just
my
eating
son
it while
eats
we're
it.
watching the Turtles.
I love that.
All right.
Kyle, if you're watching, you watch this. Shout out to you, bro.
So NAIC was last weekend.
Yeah.
Dragapult did not win. Lily's Clefairy took first place.
Yeah.
Mewtwo made top 8. And
How many of
Slowking-
those do we own? We're about to go to the
They're
moon.
gone. They're gone. We sold them all.
Slowking made top 4. So one word for NAIC over the weekend and Dragapult not winning. Kraus?
Enjoyable.
Yes. Agreed. Also, side note, we have our celebration mid-year tournament July 17th.
The Friday there. Yeah.
And Dragapult's banned. So if you guys are sick of Dragapult like we are and you want to come play and not have to worry about having to deal with Dragapult, it should be a good time coming out. Trav, any thoughts on the NAIC? Onward.
No, but I mean, we were just talking about, graded investors and the PSA population reports. If somebody was quick on the draw, followed the tournament, there was a winner like this, and you bought out all of TCG player for that card because you knew that card that wasn't good, like go check. That's Lily's.
Lily's Clefairy.
Sure, there's probably a huge spike.
You'll
Oh
see-
my goodness, there's a lot of these.
Yeah,
Yes.
there's too many. You'll see it on the Slowpoke deck, the common Slowpoke or Slowking, top to $6.
Well, the most sold ever was 2 days ago.
Yeah.
And that's the Ascended one.
Yeah,
Are all
Journey-
of these
Journey
have the
together.
exact same moves?
Yes.
They're all identical?
Yeah.
And there's 2 different special illustration rares for
Yeah,
this?
one Ascended, one Journey.
Oh, wow.
There's 2 full arts.
Yeah, it's too spread out.
But to your point though, the Slowking deck came out, and there's no illustration rare or any high rarity of that card, and the Slowpoke, I think spiked to $5 or $6 last week because
This
people
is a
couldn't
big
get it.
spike for Journey. It went from 148 sold to 300 sold.
Yeah. Yeah. So you see it there. Couple things about NAIC. The winner is a Kansas guy. James Kowalski's from Wichita, which is cool. 4th place, Ross Cawthon, used to be a Kansas City guy. I think he's in Georgia now, but Ross is one of the guys that always creeps into people's conversations about the GOATs of Pokemon because he's never missed a world championship. And so with his 4th place in NAIC, he secured his 2026 world championship invite, even regardless of whether he had enough points. I think he had enough points anyway, but him in 4th place, that's just like, that's the legend status. Having
Huge
him around.
congratulations to both those guys.
Yeah,
It's really
fantastic. And then once again, I mentioned this before, but Justin Neudorf posted his Phase 1 stats for the year at 43-0-6 in Phase 1, never lost in Phase 1. And so to those of you that watch this that have a loved one that's playing the game, or you're in a LGS and you hear someone complain about, well, I prized this and then this happened and then just know that there are players out there who are grinding that can make the best out of all of the hands that they get and continue to play at a high level regardless of what the variance or the randomness of the game is. To go undefeated over 6 different regionals, over 2 different rotations, right? Because it's this season, be able to do that. I mean, super strong play there as you've seen. So,
Super impressive.
yep.
All right. Cool, guys. That'll wrap it up. Thanks
right.
for joining
Later.
us.
Yeah,
We'll catch you next
appreciate you
week.
guys. Thank you so much.
Peace.
Nice.